Good morning, good morning. Or good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Going to do another live Q&A here. I want to talk about a couple things before we get started, allow people to kind of show up a little bit, start asking some questions so those kind of pile up. And I actually want to start right away. I just got a comment on a different video, and I thought it was a perfect thing to lead into because this is a struggle that a lot of people have. And actually, let me see if I can share that with you. So yeah, right here. So I know once the cut is over, I need to eat a bit more, but I'm honestly scared to get fat in the bulk. Again, bulking is going to be a huge mental battle. This is a huge struggle for so many people. And the one thing I want to say about this is the concern about gaining all the weight back and getting fat again or whatever it may be. It's just not going to happen if you go through a proper reverse diet. You know, if you take your time, gradually increasing your calories and tapering cardio down, you don't gain all the fat back unless you just quit. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I understand the concern completely. You know, you did all that hard work to get the weight off, and it can be a real mental challenge to start working calories back up and shift focus. And you just don't want to lose that progress you made. And you know what? Are you going to maintain your leanest physique? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, you might. It really depends on a lot of different factors, but you have to understand there's a huge difference between gaining it all the weight back or a significant amount of the weight back and gaining a small weight back to be able to create more balance, flexibility, and perform better, sleep better, get stronger, build muscle, all the different things that come with it. And of course, it always depends on you, on your biggest goals and how you're going to handle things and your mentality. But you don't have to be concerned about just all of a sudden just gaining it all back. That only happens if you just stop completely and throw all caution to the wind and just say, screw it. And that's a big struggle for many people. So I don't want you to be concerned about that. I know a lot of people are very hesitant to start increasing calories, but it's just no life to live. Just stay on those low calories, feeling like crap, hormones all jacked up, and yeah, it's just no fun. So good morning, Jake and Melissa. So we got South Africa in the house. We got Chile in the house. Where's everyone from? Let me know. Drop in the comments. I'm always curious to just kind of see where everyone dials in from. I like to see that. It's still. I know the internet's been around for a lot of years now, but I'm in my 40s now, and I remember a time without the internet, and it still is just kind of mind blowing to me that we can just communicate. Let's just like it's no big deal that for people from all over the world. So that's pretty awesome. So I got a few questions that I asked for up front that I'll get into while I wait for some more questions to come in. It looks like we've got one here. And once I get through that, we'll dive into the rest of the questions. Hopefully they start coming in. And I'm trying right now, I'm trying every other week. And I'm hoping that gives enough time for people to still have questions and make for a good stream. Sometimes if you do it too frequently, you don't get enough. So we'll see. I'm trying to figure out what a good schedule is from. So it looks like we got London, Maryland, what is that? NorCal? What is that? Not sure. New York. St. Pete. Oh, Carol, hey. I know you. I'm like, wow, that's right by me. Oh. All right, Jake, what do we got here? So we got when reverse dieting and you're trying to work calories up, since having more muscle burns more calories, is it better to focus on building large body parts like legs, quads, etc., rather than biceps? Not necessarily. You want a well-balanced physique, and of course, it always just kind of depends on your own personal goals and what matters most to you. There is a greater metabolic demand for the larger parts. So, I mean, it's always a good idea to focus on bigger compound movements, you know, like your leg presses, squats, lat pull downs, bench press, you know, all these things, because they do work multiple body parts. They're multi-joint. That's what makes them compound. And like, you're going to get those smaller muscles with the bigger muscles, and they're great, but it's good to have a balance of everything too. And, you know, it really just kind of depends on what's most important to you. But I wouldn't make a change based on trying to get a little bit more calorie burn out of a little bit more muscle. That's going to be pretty insignificant. And you know, just focus on, okay, if you want to build up your biceps more, then you need to focus on that, right? Like if you want to build up your legs more, you focus on that. But no matter what, you still want to be relatively balanced, because you don't want to create muscle imbalances that can lead to movement pattern dysfunctions and injuries and things like that. Hey, Rebecca, Trinidad and Tobago, we got all over the world. I love that. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful, man. I really do. So I know you worked hard to get those results, and you got abs popping. That's fantastic. So it can be concerning, but man, you just don't want to stay stuck down here. And just know, just take your time and be patient, and don't fall into the all or nothing mentality. That's what absolutely kills people. And you'll be fine. You're gonna have to mentally accept some weight gain. It's most likely gonna happen. Also understand the difference between weight gain and body fat. It's not always the same, and it's different times, different phases required different actions and mentalities. All right, about diet breaks. When you end one, do you recommend going back to the previous calories right away, or should you decrease them back slowly, like 100 calories per week until back to previous calories? You definitely don't want to decrease slowly back to the previous calories. So I kind of call that reverse dieting in reverse. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make when they start a cutting phase. You go through reverse and you kind of gradually increase your calories up, and this allows your metabolism to adapt while minimizing changes of body fat. But what happens if you do that in a cutting phase and you start gradually bringing the calories down 50 to 100 per week? Well, now you're slowing down your metabolism while minimizing changes of body fat. You don't want to minimize changes in body fat during a cutting phase, right? You do in a building phase, but not a cutting phase. So you don't want you to allow your metabolism to adapt down without really seeing much change in body fat. So this is kind of along the same terms. I'll get back to your specific question in a minute, but when you start a cut, you want to make a significant enough change to elicit a response, and then as things slow down the road, then you can make smaller changes to get things going. But you want to drop a decent amount, and I've got videos on this. There's one called "How to Adjust Macros for Fat Loss" or something like that, and I actually think it's the top video on my channel if you go to it, and explains how to do that. And it also covers this exact topic too. So if you go on a diet break, I kind of look at it two different ways. If you went on a diet break and you were still seeing good results when you went on the diet break, then when the diet break is done, just go right back to what you were doing before, because you were already losing, you were already seeing those results. So in theory, you should still be in a good deficit by the time you do that. In fact, in theory, you should be in a better spot because you got a little bit of a hormonal and metabolic break, and you come back and you should be able to get things going again. If you were stalled out and having a hard time losing, and then you took a diet break there, then you probably want to make some adjustments down from the previous calories. So let's say, for instance, you're eating 1,800 calories and you were stalled out. Now you take a diet break, you come back, maybe you eat like 1,700 or 1,650 or something like that, to just make sure you kick things up. That's one of the best plateau busters that I know of that just seems to work really well, is stall out, take a break, come back, get more aggressive, maybe add in a little bit of cardio too, and push there. But definitely don't knock back 100 calories per week until you get there. That's gonna work against you. 1 second. Needs the coffee. So I've got some new equipment coming, so I'm hoping to get all set up here. I want to be able to use my regular camera instead of this. What I'm using right now is just the Logitech web camera, and the video quality is decent for a web camera, but I want to get some good quality video, and I want to make this a big part of my channel moving forward. I think you guys seem to enjoy it, and I enjoy it. So as long as they keep going off with success, I'll keep doing them and put a little more effort into making the best videos I can. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, I wanted to split up some smaller clips from questions from the last video and maybe post a small video here and there, if no other where else. Wow, sorry. If not even on YouTube, also on like Instagram or Facebook or something like that, just with little clips talking about it. But I noticed when I did that, the sound was off. So like I would be talking, but then the sound would come a little bit after or a little bit before, and it wasn't synced up. Did you notice that in the last stream, or was it okay live, or even right now? Is everything synced up? Like when you see me talking, is the sound coming out right? Because if that's an issue, then I want to talk to StreamYard or whatever and try to see if I can figure out what's going on here. So let me know if you notice sound discrepancies in the last video, and especially if you're noticing it in this one, because obviously I'm not gonna be able to split them up if it's not working. So anyway, All right. Is walking for teens during a reverse diet good enough? I don't have weights and I just like walking. I do 20,000 steps per day and enjoy it. All right. So this was one of the questions that was asked up front. So we'll tackle it now. And actually, this is the topic of my next video that's coming out next week, probably midweek or so. It's talking about exercise during a reverse diet. So the question, it's kind of poorly worded because, and I'm not trying to throw shade. I just want to give you some context. But what do you mean by is it good enough? I'm assuming what you mean is like, is that good exercise for reverse dieting? And the thing is, walking is great. It's helpful especially for fat loss. It's very, very useful, and it's easy to recover from, and it doesn't beat you down very much. And it's one of the more underrated things you can do for fat loss. However, in a reverse diet, you're not looking for fat loss. You're looking to undo the suppression in your metabolism. And the thing you need to consider about walking and cardio specifically is your body adapts to whatever you do, and it kind of like, if you're walking 20,000 steps a day, that's going to be your baseline now. So if you're reverse dieting with the intention to be able to cut again down the road, well, now you're setting yourself up for when you start to cut, that your baseline that you're already adapted to is 20,000 steps. So if you want to increase steps to help create a calorie deficit down the road to lose fat, now you're going to have to go above and beyond the 20,000 steps a day, which is already a ton of walking. So it's not really doing you any favors. And the best thing you can do is definitely strength training. And if you don't have weights, even just like, you can get great workouts with body weights and stuff around the house and things like that. So the best thing you can do for a reverse is some form of a resistance training. I'm not saying you can't walk. I'm not saying that it's bad to walk. And I'm not saying you can't do all these steps if you really, truly enjoy it. You just have to understand what it means. There's positive and negative consequences to everything we do. The positive is you like it. It makes you happy. It has health benefits. The negative is you're not helping your situation when it's time to cut down the road, if that's your goal. If you're just looking to roughly maintain and that's how you live an active, healthy lifestyle, then great, do it to your heart's content. So we always need context, and we need to think about our goals and what's most important to us. No matter what, there's never necessarily a right or wrong answer to how you handle a reverse diet. You just have to know the positives and negatives and figure out which one outweighs the other for yourself. So hopefully that helps. Where was I? We're moving along here. Make sure you're following me on Instagram if you're not already. I've been trying to post more frequently lately. Trying to get around maybe 3 to 4 at least a week, and trying to up my game there. So if you're not following me on Instagram, call it away, and that will make me happy. All right, where were we? I've heard that you shouldn't count the protein in collagen, pork rinds, and gelatin towards protein macro because it's low quality protein. I would still count it, but you're not wrong, especially with regards to collagen, that it is a low quality protein, at least with regards to muscle building. And again, not everyone's doing protein just for the sake of building muscle. And you can maybe make some argument about things like hair and nails and stuff like that. The research is kind of split on that. I mean, I think it's pretty unknown at this point if there are benefits, but some people swear by it. And if that's you, that's great. The problem with collagen protein is it's extremely low in leucine, and leucine is the main amino acid responsible for muscle protein synthesis. So that's why it's considered a lower quality protein. It just doesn't do you a whole lot for that. But if you're eating a sufficient amount of protein already, and you're around like 1 gram per pound or whatever, somewhere close to that, and you're getting enough from other sources, then having some collagen is not going to negatively impact anything, and you're fine. I wouldn't make it like your main source, but still, you definitely count it as protein. It still has a thermic effect of food. It still helps you feel full. There's still benefits to it. It's just not as beneficial for muscle. Sounds good, man. I'm doing well. Thank you. I want to diet till 1,200 in a week doesn't affect the scale. My question is, How far from my BMR go can I reach 5,000 calories? No, you're probably not going to reach 5,000 calories. So, uh, the thing with reverse dieting, there's a common misconception that reverse dieting means that you can just keep increasing calories and you'll never gain any weight or a significant amount of weight. And if you just keep going, then your body will be able to handle it. And that's just not the case. The point of the reverse diet is to undo the suppression in your hormones and metabolism from dieting to get it back to more your normal genetic baseline. So unless your normal genetic baseline maintenance calories is 5,000, you're probably not going to get to that, at least without gaining a crap load of weight. The only way you can increase beyond your normal genetic baseline is by building muscle, which is, again, why strength training is part of why strength training is so dang beneficial, because that is how you actually improve your metabolism. But I can't say how far above. First of all, consider BMR is just the amount of calories that you burn just doing nothing, like just to keep the lights on, so to speak. That doesn't account for all your calories burned. There's also the thermic effect of food, the thermic effect of exercise, your NEAT, which is like your general movements throughout the day, things like that. So your BMR is not the whole part of the equation. And no matter what, it's all about just monitoring and being consistent and seeing how your body responds as you either decrease or increase calories. And so at a certain point, though, if you just keep increasing calories, at a certain point, your body's not going to be able to keep up and you'll start gaining relatively fast. And when that happens, then you can just back off the calories to a more reasonable level. And how far you want to push it just depends on what's most important to you. Why some persons on a calorie surplus of about 200 calories related to, wait, what? Why some persons on a calorie surplus of about 200 calorie related over maintenance still binge? Is it because their food choices, so even though they are in a surplus, they are not satisfied? Well, there's a lot of reasons why people binge, and a lot of it is mental. A significant portion of it is mental. If you have a tendency to turn to food for comfort, if you get stressed, if you're sad, whatever else, a lot of people struggle with that, and they turn to food for momentary comfort to feel better in the moment. Of course, it always ends up making you feel worse in the long run, but that has nothing to do with how many calories you're eating. The other thing to consider too is if you're relatively close to post diet or having just dieted, your hunger hormones are all out of whack, and your hunger signals are going to be skewed. So even though you might be at maintenance or above maintenance, your body is still signaling to you that it wants you to eat more. You have a body fat set point. If you've gone well below that body fat set point, your body's going to do everything it can to try to get you there. So even though you're above your maintenance calories, that doesn't mean that you're not going to still be hungry. But when it comes to acts, there's a difference too between hunger and binging, and just binging is usually more mental than anything. And that's definitely something that if you struggle with that, you want to get help with. You're the best. Maybe something we could do that in the future. We'll have to see. Trying to perfect this first. It was okay live. I think the issue is with how it's being encoded. Yeah, so I wonder if it has something to do. Well, I just upgraded to the paid premium StreamYard. So how some services are, they're not very good until you actually pay for it. So maybe it has something to do with that. Slight audio delay. Okay, is that now or the previous one? Okay, it must be good now at least. Know your father with kids and a wife. Do you have junk food in the house? And if so, how do you avoid it? Yes, I have junk food in the house and I don't avoid it. I eat it if I want it. I don't believe in bad foods. It shouldn't be a majority of your diet, but having a little bit of something that you enjoy is never going to be the thing that makes or breaks anything. And I've got plenty of videos on this, and there's plenty of research that supports that as long as calories and protein are equated, not only is there no changes or differences in fat loss, but even most health markers too. So the other thing is too, like I want my child to have a healthy relationship with food when he gets older, and kids watch, and then if they see you talking about foods as being bad, or like you can't have them, or whatever else, they pick up on that stuff. And a lot of what I see from clients who struggle, it oftentimes comes back to what happened during their childhood. I watched my mom constantly trying to diet, and say bad things about her body and always call herself fat, and I picked up on that stuff. Or they're talking about foods was bad and you can't have them, and the kids pick up on that, and they grow up to do the same thing, and I don't want that for my child. So I don't I do my best to kind of lead by example, but I don't force anything upon him. And I'm not saying that's right. That's how I choose to do it. I don't know that there necessarily is a right or wrong answer, but you don't have to avoid it. What you want to do is learn how to be able to include it without falling into the all or nothing mentality, and that requires practice and time. I'm gonna have to change this banner. I wonder if I can put it at the top. Maybe that would be better. So let me see. If you end up reverse dieting and you eventually get to the number of calories you're happy with, will you ever be able to maintain your weight on that amount forever? But pretty much. I mean, of course, there's a lot of different factors in play, but I mean, if you get to a point where you're happy and you're maintaining and you're keeping the same amount of kind of rough activity and you're being consistent, for the most part, you're going to roughly maintain on that for a long time. Now, of course, over time, like your metabolism does slow down as you age, but it's nowhere near as much as most people think. It is very small, just based on just regular life. I was digging through some research papers once, and I came across one, and I believe it said, and I'm not these aren't exact numbers, but I believe it was literally like people lose about 1 to 2% of their metabolism, their maintenance calories, every dozen years or so after the age of like 30 or whatever. So I mean, that's not that much. Now everyone turns to, well, I got older and I got fatter, and that happens a lot, but it's not because just your metabolism just tanks as you get older. I think the three main reasons are we get less active when we get older. We just tend to not move around as much. We tend to sit around and eat more, and so you eat more, you move less, and then thirdly, there's the older you are, the higher the chance there is of a longer, more extreme history of dieting, right? So if you've dieted on and off for a couple of years, that doesn't help, but it's not going to be a huge make or break anything. If you've dieted on and off every single year for the last 30 years, your metabolism is trashed. And that is going to make a bigger impact than anything else. It's the over dieting that makes the biggest difference. And the other thing about that research paper too is it said that it seems like the majority of metabolism lost as you age is due to loss of lean body mass. Again, another win for strength training and why it's so beneficial, because if loss of lean body mass is the main reason why people's metabolism slow down as they age, well, how do you combat that? Build muscle, or at least try to maintain it the best you can. You know what I mean? It's just so beneficial. Bone mineral density. There's just so much to be said about keeping a strength training routine, almost no matter what your goals are. Again, like, everyone's different and sustainability matters, but man, and I talk about this in my next video coming up too, is like, can you at least do like 1 or 2 days a week just to get something in? Like, I don't like cardio. I hate cardio, but I still do it no matter what phase I'm in, because there's health benefits to it. And I want to get that, so anyway, yes. I mean, for the most part, you can roughly maintain. You'll have to go through short little cuts every once in a while, every handful of years, if nothing else, but that's nothing, Returning to the gym after spine surgery. Oh man, hope you're all better. 5'10", 230 pounds, and eating 2,500 calories through tracking. And I'm thinking that I should be under my TDE by 200 to 300 calories. So that might be enough. I would probably make a bigger adjustment than that. I would probably try to reduce at least around 500 calories would probably be a good starting point. Again, just to make sure you're eliciting a response. And that would be about 20% of your calories, which is a good spot. I usually recommend around 20, 25% to start your cut. and then adding in some cardio too. Some people do better with less. Some people need more. Everyone responds differently. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I wouldn't do 2. You could try 3 and see. Sometimes if you reduce 300 calories and add a bit of cardio and just the fact that you're cutting, you might be a little bit more diligent with your tracking and things like that. And that's enough to get things going. So I'm not saying you can't do that. But I like to err on the side of a little bit more. And then if you're losing weight too fast, you can always bump up the calories a little bit versus make too small of an adjustment, allow your metabolism to start to adapt to that, and then need to be more aggressive. I'd rather get ahead of it. And everyone seems to have a certain like threshold of calories, so to speak, that they need to get to before you start losing body fat. So I just prefer to be a little bit more aggressive. And yeah, so hopefully that helps. Brandon, thanks, my man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Hope all is well with you, and you and your family are doing well. And I love the channel. Keep it up. Thanks, brother. Gained about 1 pound a week in my first 3 weeks back training, and I thought I would have at least maintained or lost weight. Is it normal to rebound like this following a long break? Absolutely. The reason, Darren, is because you're back into strength training now. Remember, weight's not created equal. So not only are you probably building some muscle back, if you were training before, muscle memory is very real. We have this kind of like nuclei and satellite cells to help with rebuilding muscle much, much faster than it takes to build it in the first place. So you're going to build muscle quickly. You also consider too that your muscles are going to start filling up with glycogen more, and that has weight. You're going to be sore from training, so you'll have some inflammation. So it's not abnormal at all to see a spike on the scale getting back into training, and it's not necessarily even a bad thing. So make sure you're paying attention, especially as you go through things. Don't just look at weight. For you, especially if you're starting to cut here, track your weight. I'm not saying don't track your weight, but pay more attention to measurements. Make sure you're taking pictures from the front, the back, and the side, so you can get that visual evidence. This is a step that most people skip, and it's a mistake. And pay attention to how your clothes are fitting and things like that, because you may build very well, and you might be at a point where your weight might not move a lot, but that doesn't mean that you aren't seeing significant changes in body composition, and that's what you're really after. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Is it better to train for strength, hypertrophy, or it doesn't matter? It depends on your goals. It depends on what you want out of your training. So, Jake, give me a little context to this. So when you say, is it better to train for strength or hypertrophy, or doesn't matter? What are you trying to accomplish when you ask that question? And that'll help me answer it a little bit better, because it always just depends. But I want a little bit more context, and then I can go deeper into this, and I will. Thank you. Appreciate it. So there is a delay. Man, that's annoying. All right, I'll check it out when we're done here, and if it's an issue, I'll try to contact support and see what's going on. Appreciate it, man. I'm glad I've been able to help. All right, what is your favorite chest exercise, and how have you adapted to body parts that just aren't exactly keeping up with others or are genetically lacking to you? Well, my favorite is bench press. I mean, it's just, I have a powerlifting background, so that if you don't know powerlifting, there's 3 lifts. There's squat, bench, and deadlift. So I've done a lot of benching over the years, and I just love it. I like getting stronger with it, and it doesn't mean it's superior or the best or anything else. And I don't believe there are best exercises. It's just what I personally enjoy. I think if anything, you can make some small arguments that dumbbells would be a bit better, because you have to stabilize a bit more. You can control if you have a lagging side. If one side is stronger than the other, it can't take over, so to speak. But that's just what I like. And then if you have parts that lack, we all have certain genetics that just some parts build better than others. Like for me, I can't grow calves to save my life, and I don't really put in the effort to do it now anyway. But it's just really difficult for me to grow calves. it basically just requires more training volume. I mean, assuming that recovery methods and everything are good and everything, typically it just means you need to give it more volume to stimulate growth. But it can vary. But that's usually the go-to answer is more volume. Pretty sure my body adapted to the 1460 calories I've been on to cut. I'm short 5'2", want to lose at least 10 more and then reverse. Do you think I should try a diet break now after 5 months of dieting? Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I recommend taking diet breaks at least every 6 to 8 weeks or so. I mean, sometimes I'll push more, but they're just so beneficial for the long-term process. I talk about this all the time, but diet breaks are so often looked at as like some sort of setback or a negative or whatever, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And they could very well be the very thing that helps you get to your goal. If you don't take it, your body's the longer you go without diet breaks, the more your body's going to want to start fighting against the calorie deficit and kind of like try to protect you against starvation, basically. So you need to give your body a reason to back off and let its guard down a little bit instead of always trying to fight against it. So if you've gone 5 months, absolutely, I would try a diet break first. I would do at least 2 weeks, and then you can try coming back, or if you can reasonably stick to the plan, you could come back, get a little bit more aggressive. And again, I have that video, how to adjust macros for fat loss. That would be a good one to check out because it takes you through the whole process. And it talks about this in diet breaks and how to do them and everything else. But you should start there for sure. So I would take a diet break, come back, get more aggressive. If you can stick to the plan, if you can't, don't get stubborn and keep trying to force it. Just know that you have your whole life. The 10 or so pounds aren't going to make you a better person. I'm not saying you shouldn't go for better goals, but you don't want to get caught up in it. I see it happen time and time again where people just like, they get stuck and they feel like, no, I need to get to my goal. I need to get to my goal. And they keep trying to push and they keep trying to push and their body fights more and more. And it just completely crushes them, and then they get to the point where they get really depressed about it, and their hormones are all jacked up, and they just end up saying F it, and then just going back into binging behavior, and then undo it all, and then they end up starting over and trying to do it from a slow metabolism, and it's just a disaster. And I definitely don't want that for you, and I know you don't want that. So take a break, come back, make the next push. If it's not there, then reverse and come back for the rest on at a later time. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Jake, I still need more from you. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Like, are you saying to better build muscle? What's your goal? I guess that's what I need to know from you. Do you know what a stress fracture feels like and what the main causes are? I can't answer that. It's going to be probably different for everybody. I'm obviously not a doctor. And if you feel like you're having some sort of issue, go see a doctor. Like, don't just hope for the best. You're always better off going in and making sure and finding out. Best case, there's nothing wrong and you're good. In the worst case, there's something there, but now you can actually do something about it and not make it worse. Because the worst thing you could do is hope that it's not an issue and then just try to work through it and then turn it into something much bigger that's going to set you back in a much bigger way. Like injuries always suck. They do, but they're a part of the process, and they're always going to happen. And you just need to. If you do get hurt, you need to do what you need to do to get better and understand that nothing will ever make or break you. So hopefully you're okay. Okay, well, I'll check what the recording looks like when I'm done. So I'm glad there isn't a delay for some people, at least. Yes, absolutely. Reverse dieting can fix hormones, and that's part of the reason for it. So you can get your calories up and start getting your hormones back into a better place and things like that. So combining your next question about the all-in approach. So reverse dieting versus going more extreme and upping calories really fast and gaining quickly, you're gonna improve your hormones faster that way, because like with regards to like leptin, you lose leptin as you lose body fat. and that causes you to have some issues with hunger. So leptin kind of like it has a lot of functions, but one of them is to tell you when you feel full. And when that is low, you just kind of like never feel like you're full, even when you do eat. Um, and then you have ghrelin, which tells you when you're hungry, and that elevates. So it's like you have one telling you that you're hungry, and the other that tells you that you're not full. You can see why it can be so hard to stop eating sometimes. But reverse dieting, the point of the reverse diet is to allow you to start getting those hormones and metabolism back into a better place while minimizing the amount of body fat that you gain during the process. That doesn't make it right for everybody. It doesn't make it the answer. It's just that's the point of it. But if you want to improve hormones and things better faster, then a faster approach of increasing calories is going to do that for you. But then you also have to be okay with gaining more body fat. And the same thing with like the all-in. If you're okay with adding a significant amount of body fat to try to help your hormones and stuff faster, then great. But you know what, like it's just going to be different for everybody, and there's no right or wrong answer, and you have to determine what's most important to you and everything like that. And there's a lot of mental things too. And keep in mind too, like with the reverse diet, you don't have to increase slowly. I know I've been trying to watch my verbiage when I talk about how reverse dieting in my videos now, because I used to always say slowly increase calories, and now I'm starting to shift to try to remember to say gradually increase, because it doesn't have to be slow. It's just a systematic way of increasing calories, like I said, to help with that. But you can take it as fast as you want. So if you want to do more of an all-in approach, but not gain that much weight, just take a faster approach. You start adding 100 calories a week, 150 calories a week. Like that's a pretty fast approach, but it's going to allow you to get calories up and stuff and improve things faster, but not to the point where you're just gaining a ton of weight like super fast, like you can with the all-in approach. I'm not saying there's something wrong with it, and it always requires context, and everyone's different. I'm just giving you some things to consider. Thank you, Gloria, for the super chat. I really appreciate that a lot. 67, been on 1,300 calories for 6 months with 2 days a week. I'm assuming, are you saying 2 days a week of strength training? Let me know. Lost 15 pounds and worried that a reverse would put it all back on. Is there another option besides a reverse diet for 6 months? So I talked about this in the beginning of the video too, and that is you don't need to be concerned about gaining all the weight back through a reverse diet. That typically only happens if you basically say screw it and just go off and go into like overeating mode, you know, and just go nuts like that. If you just give up completely, that's how you gain all the weight back. If you do it in a systematic way, is much less likely. Will you probably gain some weight back? Yeah, most likely, but it's going to be more minimal by taking a reverse diet approach. But this is how you can get those calories up, and just really take your time. And you know, you said you did it, so 15 pounds in 6 months. So 6 months off back onto a reverse diet would that's kind of like always my minimum for how long to reverse diet before trying to cut again. But you'd probably be better off if you took like, I don't know your history, so there's a lot I don't know about you, but if you took like a full year to really make sure you're in a better spot, will you potentially gain closer to that 15 pounds back? Maybe, but you'll put yourself in such a really good spot that next time you cut, you'll be able to do it more effectively. And again, it just requires so much more context than I have from you. 1,500 calories 2 days a week. So basically a double refeed. Thank you for that. Which is a good idea. So if your main concern is putting the weight back on, then that just means you need to take a slower approach. The slower you take the slower you take the increases in calories, the less likely you are to gain, but it also takes longer to get all the benefits from it too, like feeling better, having more energy, more flexibility in your diet, you know, recovery and balance and all that type of stuff. But there's no right or wrong answer in terms of like how it should be approached for you. If you're more concerned about gaining weight than you are getting the benefit of the reverse, then you can take your time. And as far as your question, is there another option? Well, there's only two other options in my book. One is stay on the super low calories that you're maintaining on, and just maintain. If you just really want to maintain, if you stay there, you will maintain there. But then that doesn't afford you a whole lot of flexibility in your life, and it makes it much more difficult. Not to mention hormonally, you'll probably stay in a bad spot. You just probably won't feel very good. So it's not a great option, but it is an option. You don't have to increase calories, but just know that your metabolism is suppressed from the dieting. The other option is to jump up your calories back up right away. But that's going to be much, if you want to avoid weight gain, that's not a good option for you. I guess the other option would be if you can get a little bit more aggressive and lose a little bit more to create a little bit more of a wiggle room than you could, but you're already pretty dang low calorie. Again, I don't know a whole lot about you, so low calories is relative to the individual, but all things to consider. So hopefully that helped, but let me know if anything didn't make sense or if you have further questions, and I very much appreciate the $20. That was very nice. But when you hold those calories from a reverse diet, won't you keep gaining? Only if you're in a... So I'm assuming this is going back to a previous question. Oh, so the reverse dieting. So, okay. So here's the thing with the reverse. If you hold your calories as they come high and you're still gaining while you're increasing those calories, then yes, I mean, eventually your maintenance would catch up, or your body would catch up, so that becomes your maintenance. Like any amount of calories you eat to a degree will always eventually become your maintenance, unless you go to the extremes. But like what that happens with you when you drop your calories and your hormones and metabolism adapt down to that, becomes your new maintenance. If you go up, the same thing happens. Eventually you'll gain enough weight that becomes your new maintenance, but obviously you don't necessarily want to just keep gaining weight all the time or get too far above a point where you're comfortable. So what you can do is get your calories to a place where you're happy, where you're feeling better, and you like your hunger signals are good and you're in a much better place. And then if you're still gaining, then you just back off your calories a little bit, maybe 100 calories or whatever, to get to until you find your actual maintenance calories at that point. And then you can hold those calories and then just stay out of a diet for a long time, and then you'll be in a good spot. So when I talk about the length of reverse dieting, I'm usually talking about the combination of the increasing your calories as well as holding calories when they get higher. So that, I guess that's something I should always probably lead with. A little coffee. Which, by the way, if anybody wants help with the reverse diet or anything with regards to getting in better shape, I am still taking clients on online coaching. And you can head to my website, callintoweighttraining.com, head to the coaching, and scroll down. And one thing that I always fail to mention, and I should probably mention more, is my coaching does come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And what I mean by that is I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to see the most fantastic results in those 30 days. I mean, maybe you will, but what I'm saying is you have 30 days to see if the coaching is for you or not. And it takes away all risk on your end. So if you want to try it and see if you like it, you can do it. If within 30 days you're like, you know what, this just isn't for me, I don't particularly like this, then you can cancel it and let me know, and I'll refund you your initial fund, and you didn't spend a dime. So if you are interested, head to my website, callintoweighttraining.com, click on coaching, click on sign up now, and ever so slowly the next page will load. And you have a form to fill out here. So, all right, back to the questions. I'm on a reverse diet at week 19 with 1,200 calories plus 20 per week, but my weight is rapidly increasing from 56 to 61 kilograms. Wow, that is pretty fast. I'm doing progressive weight training, but not doing cardio. What should I do? Don't take this the wrong way, Vanessa, but I'm going to make the guess that adherence is probably not the best if you're eating that low calorie and only making 20 calorie increases and gaining weight that fast. So, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you're like, you know what, I'm being perfectly spot on, I'm on top of it completely, I'm measuring everything, and I'm not eating anything that I'm not accounting for and everything else, let me know and tell me to shut up. But what I have found is most of the time when people gain weight super fast during a reverse is because they're not really adhering very well. We have a tendency to look at our target calories, but we don't pay attention to all the times where we're not really sticking to that, and our actual consumed calories are much less, or excuse me, much more than what our target calories are. So maybe you're at 1,200 calories and you're doing that 5 days a week, but then you have 2 days a week on the weekends where you're going crazy and eating 3,000 calories a day and going way above and beyond that. And that's why you're gaining weight so fast. Again, maybe not, I don't know. But that's definitely step number one, is to really be honest with yourself and look at how well you're adhering to your calories, and step there. If everything is spot on and you're on top of it, then, as much as I hate to say it, you might need to dial your calories back a bit or add in a little bit of cardio until things kind of settle a little bit more, and then go from there. Not really a great option at 1,200 calories. But I think the more logical thing is going to be, make sure you're tightening up the consistency and adherence to the plan. And maybe, I don't know where you left off. Maybe you were only eating like 300 calories a day for a long time, and maybe you were doing 7 hours of cardio a week, and now you're doing 0, and that's why, because you didn't taper down your cardio very well and you went from a ton to 0. That could be another option too. Like if you made way too drastic of a cut right away, your body couldn't handle that. So much like you gradually increase your calories through a reverse with your diet, you also want to gradually taper down the cardio too. So if you're doing tons of cardio and then go to nothing, that could be a reason why you'd gain a lot faster too. It does, to a degree. Does it make sense to calculate the calories on ground beef, all varieties, after it's cooked and then drained? So the calories that you see on a nutrition label for all forms of meat is pre-cooked. So if you're looking to be as accurate as possible with your nutrition, it's the pre-cooked weight you want to take. So if you portion off, if usually it's 4 ounces for a serving, and if you wanted one serving and you took 4 ounces, I think that's right. Maybe it's only 2. Regardless, doesn't matter. If you take 4 ounces and say 4 ounces is 200 calories, if you take that and then cook it, it's probably only going to weigh maybe 3 ounces afterwards, but it's still the 200 calories from the label. So that's the most accurate way to do it. However, that's not the most convenient way to do it. That's not how I do it. It really depends, again, on what, like, how you want to handle it and how much work you're willing to put into it. So if it's super important to you to be as accurate as possible, some people that's the case, some people it's not, and that's okay. But if you want to do everything you can to be as accurate as possible, portioning things out ahead of time is the best way to do it. Or what you can do, and this is what I kind of recommend, is at least the first time, get the total weight of what you cook. And even if it's more than one serving or how much you're going to eat at that time, you take the total weight before cooking it, then cook it, and then weigh it again, and then see what the difference is, and then you can do the math. And usually I find that you lose about 20% of the weight when cooking. Of course, it can vary a lot, but that's kind of a good rough starting point. And then you just use that moving forward, so that instead of weighing every single time, you can just go, okay, I'm gonna set actual item in your tracking app, whether it's MyFitnessPal or whatever else, customize it yourself, saying that 1 ounce cooked equals this, and then you just use that moving forward after having done the math, and then you don't have to do it every single time. And that's what I do. So I have all the different types of meats that I eat. I have item in my list of things that I use each and every time, and I don't bother weighing it and everything ahead of time. It's just gonna be close enough. And the biggest thing is, as long as you're consistent with how you do it, that's what matters the most. Especially if it's something you eat a lot, it's not going to matter whether you claim it as 200 or 150 calories, or whatever. If it's always the same, it's not really going to matter a whole lot. So hopefully that makes sense. But any questions, let me know. What's the blueprint behind weight loss and calories or hormones? I'm very confused. Some people say insulin and hormones is the key for weight loss and calories are irrelevant. The other side of people say it's all calories, and it confuses me a lot. I don't know who to believe anymore. It is confusing, and it's not a black and white kind of a thing. So hold on, let me find something here. Let me do this. I'm gonna get rid of me because it probably shows up better. So if you look up my name, Colin DeWay, calories in, calories out myth, this will really explain it the best. So let me I'll type it in here for you. Calories in, out myth. Well, that will go into much more detail than I'm going to go into here. If you want to check that out, that'll help you a lot. But the long story short is calories matter, hormones matter, but they're not independent of each other. And what I mean by that is people who say that calories don't matter as all the hormones matter, they don't understand the calories in versus calories out equation. So people look at calories in versus calories out as, well, I eat this many calories. My activity trackers and stuff say I burn this many calories. That's calories in versus calories out. Not really. So hormones change. The hormones impact how many calories you burn, but the reason that it makes an impact is because that's what it changes things like how many calories you burn through the thermic effect of food, the thermic effect of exercise, your BMR, and things like that. So it's still calories in versus calories out. It's just your hormones change the amount of calories out in the calories out part of the equation. Insulin has really been getting demonized. This had gone away for a while, and I really liked it. And now, for some reason, it seems to be coming back full force again. Maybe I should do a video on this. Insulin is not the devil. Insulin doesn't make you just completely not be able to lose fat. And it's very also understand the difference between, like, people point to people who are like have type 2 diabetes and stuff, and it's like there's a large difference between somebody who's obese and sitting around and not moving and eating in a huge calorie surplus versus somebody who is active and regularly strength training and doing cardio and things like that, because insulin is going to be used for that a lot differently versus just storing inside your fat cells. So you don't have to keep insulin low, and there's some research that actually looks at that, where there was diets that produce higher versus lower insulin levels, calorie equated, and there was no difference. And there's plenty of research too that shows that whether you prefer a high fat or a high carb diet, but you match calories and protein, no difference in fat loss and things like that. So it's been very demonized, but it's just not true. And hopefully that helps. But check out that video and it'll go into more detail for you. Let me see. I asked about tracking meat a few days ago. I know 4 ounces of raw meat is 3 ounces cooked. Yeah, did I nail that or what? So I've been multiplying 0.75 by the number of ounces of what I want after it's cooked. Do you think that's bad? No, that's perfect. As long as you're consistent, and that's going to be close. Like sometimes be 0.8, sometimes maybe be 0.7, or 0.72. But is that going to make a significant difference? Absolutely not. Good enough. I mean, if you want to weigh it all each and every time, you can. But that's a lot of extra work for very negligible differences in the amount of calories you're actually consuming. So, yeah, I would just go ahead and just roll with that. If we did the way you do it with the math of the weight before and after, what exactly is the math equation so I can do it at home? Oh boy, how do I explain this? I think you just did it. So if 4 ounces is, so you said it was 0.75. So let's just say a serving is 100 calories for ease of math. Actually, let me back this up. Let's say 1 ounce of whatever you're eating is 100 calories. It's probably not, but just again, this is for the sake of math. 100 calories uncooked or 1 ounce uncooked is 100 calories. If you do the math and after you cooked it, it was 75% of the weight, then you know it's 75 calories for 1 ounce of that. Now what you do is you save in your tracking app your own item or whatever you want to call it that you can use moving forward, and say 1 ounces is 75 calories. Then each and every time you go in afterwards to plug it in, if you have 4 ounces of that, it's going to plug in 4 times 75. So it'll automatically do the math for you. And you don't have to do it each and every time. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, but if not, let me know. But that to me is the easiest way to do it. Or, I mean, you can even, if you want, there's possibly a simpler way if you just want to do it as easy as possible. And that is this USDA database where you can come in here and you can type in food and you can say cooked 90-10 beef. And it's not loading. Of course it's not. Classic. Well, normally you can go into that and it'll plug out some the different USDA database readings of, okay, 1 ounce boiled is this, or grilled is this, or whatever else, and you can just use that moving forward. Again, it's much more important to be consistent than it is to be exact. So hopefully that helps. Even if you drain the day, wait, what? Even if you drain the day you think it has, I can't read this. Sorry, Deb. Can you reword that? Fat. Even if you drain the fat, you think it still has the amount of the panel says. I mean, you can make some small arguments that it's less, but you're not going to know. And I don't think that we need to get too caught up in that stuff. We don't want to major in the minor. A lot of people get too caught up in all the little integral, tiny little things, but then miss out on the forest and the trees, so to speak. Just not paying attention to the things that really matter the most, like I say, like massive cheat days that we don't account for or something like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking to you specifically. I can't answer that question, Alicia. It's too different for everybody. There's too many different scenarios, or there's too many different what's the word I'm looking for? Variables. Thank you. There's too many unique variables for each person. So, I mean, you might not gain any, you might lose, you might gain a little, you might gain a lot. Like, I can't say. The biggest thing, as you guys hear me say over and over and over again, is be consistent, monitor, and adjust accordingly. So if you go up 50 calories and you see a significant jump on the scale, well, don't go up again, or maybe and just hold, or even kind of try to find your actual maintenance first. If you lose weight, you can be a little bit more aggressive. If you maintain, that's probably a decent spot. It's just different for everybody, and again, there's so many different variables at play that I can't say. I do have a video that talks about how much, if you look up how much weight will I gain reverse dieting or something like that. I have a video that talks in more detail about it. Very welcome. I don't really watch his channel. I have viewed a handful of videos, and his style didn't resonate with me very well. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know some people have made comments on some of my videos saying that Greg says X, kind of arguing against what I'm trying to say in that video, and I don't always agree with it, but not everyone's always going to agree. I like some of the things he had to say, but I don't know enough about him to really give a real good personal opinion of if his information is good or not. I suppose in theory I should probably watch more so I can more give a better opinion. But the things that I have heard that I don't agree with are things like he says like diet breaks are stupid and pointless. Definitely don't agree with that. He says, and I'm going by what people have told me. Maybe he hasn't said these things. He also says that your metabolism only slows down when you diet because of the weight you lost, which I don't agree with that at all. And there's research that supports this. Yes, he's 100% right that by losing weight, you therefore burn less calories because you don't have as much of an energy need. And that's 100% true. He's not wrong. But there's research that shows that the suppression in your metabolism typically tends to exceed what would be predicted by the amount of weight lost. And I think this is due to the suppressions and things like hormones and things like that. That especially it's more significant with greater decreases. So it's going to be less of an impact if you're taking things nice and slow and doing things the way you should and not rushing the process. It's going to be more significant if you do more extreme methods, very high calorie deficits, losing weight super fast, things like that. Then it's more of an issue for that. But hey, like, you're never going to agree with everybody on anything either. Like, some of the people that I respect the most and think are absolutely brilliant and way smarter than me, I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say either. So that ended up being a very long answer about somebody that I don't know anything about. All I know is if you like the channel and you get something out of it, by all means, watch it. Is it okay to track your weight with just measurements and then scales? Also, it is okay to do a reverse diet without strength training. So you can track, I'm assuming you mean, can you track measurements instead of weight? Which, yes, you absolutely can. Everyone's a little bit different. It depends. One of the things that I like to talk about is you can't, let's just say, I'm making some assumptions here, but let's just say that you have a very poor relationship with the scale. And I'm kind of assuming that maybe you don't have the best relationship with the scale, and that's why you're asking it. Maybe not. You can't improve your relationship with the scale by avoiding the scale. You know what I mean? Like, just like you can't improve, like if you are afraid of carbs, you can't change your relationship with carbs by avoiding carbs. You know what I mean? So it always requires context, and everyone's different. And for some people, it is best to just completely avoid it. But I think what's a better solution, if possible, is to work on the relationship with it and learn how to not have an emotional connection to it. So there's nothing wrong with weighing yourself. The problem is having an emotional connection to what that number says. And there's so many reasons why weight jumps up and down. It has nothing to do with body fat. It's all water weight. You know, things like hormones and stress and sleep and sodium and how much food is still digesting. There's endless reasons as to why your weight jumps around, but it's not fat, which is why I recommend weighing yourself daily, first thing in the morning, after going to the bathroom, and before eating or drinking anything, because that's the most consistent time of the day. Weigh every single day, take an average for the week. That average is your actual weight. And that really can help significantly just to see the fluctuations, so you know I can't get so attached to it. And then it takes away those fluctuations, and it really tends to help a lot of people in the long run. It'll take a while to get used to that, but that usually works better. But I recommend looking at them all. But if you can't do the weight, then yeah, you can look at measurements and stuff. But measurements aren't perfect either. You know, you hold the tape a little bit different and things like that, and it gives you a different reading. And there's no perfect measurement. But if that works better for you, there's no reason you can't do it. And then as far as your question about to do a reverse diet without strength training, talked about that in the beginning too. And this is actually going to be my video coming up this week. Like, this is literally the exact topic of my next video. That'll be probably midweek. But long story short, it's okay, but you're not going to get nearly as much out of the reverse. It's not going to go nearly as well if you're not strength training. That's kind of the short answer to it. But doesn't mean you have to do it. Well, yes, but the reason they do is because you can't eat as much. So like if you do like a gastric bypass, you physically cannot eat as much. So therefore your calories get reduced naturally. It's not like the weight loss surgery just like changes things and now you just start burning fat. No, it's because now you're not going to be eating as much, and that puts you in a calorie deficit. All right, I'm caught up here, but I have some questions from before, so let me get to those. Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right. Can you please talk about artificial sweeteners? There is so much conflicting info online as to if they are okay for weight loss, insulin resistance, etc. So artificial sweeteners have gotten very demonized over the years. And there's just, to me, not a whole lot of data to suggest that they're anything you need to to worry about at this point. We could find out down the road that they're the devil and they're gonna make us all sick and die, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Now, what people tend to point to is there's evidence that it causes cancer in rats or things like that. But what you need to understand is this is something that if you watch Lane Norton, he talks about all the time, and that is that the toxicity, I can never say that, the poison, the toxicity is always in the dosage. So when you look at the data about the rats that got cancer from artificial sweeteners, well, if you converted how much they were consuming to get that result, it would literally be like if you were to drink like 100 cans of Diet Coke every single day. You know what I mean? Like it's such a high dosage that you couldn't even do it if you tried. In fact, you would literally die of too much water before you would die of the artificial sweeteners. So, I mean, is there some arguments that, hey, it may not be the best for you? Yes, but in my opinion, it has more to do with the dosage. And as long as you're not going nuts, I don't see any reason to worry about it. And a lot of times the negative stuff that comes out is all like headline FUD. Or not FUD, but just what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it's escaping me. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I remember seeing an article that came out once, and the headline said something along the lines of, large study involving thousands of people showed that people who consume more diet soda are fatter or are more likely to be obese. And when I dug into it and looked at it, what they were coming to their own conclusion, and what the study showed was people who were obese tended to consume more diet soda than people who were not obese. So they take that and say, well, see, artificial sweeteners or diet sodas makes people fat. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Wouldn't it possibly make more sense that because people are obese, they are therefore more likely to consume more diet soda because they have a weight problem and they're trying to correct that, so therefore they drink more diet soda? Doesn't that seem more logical than diet soda makes you fat? Diet soda that has no calories in it? I think so. Can I prove that? No. Correlation doesn't mean causation. But you got to be careful with that type of stuff and come to your own conclusion. And I'm not saying that you should have artificial sweetener. And you have to make your own determination for yourself. And like I said, we may find out down the road as more data comes out that maybe it is terrible for you. It might be. It might be. But the thing is, it definitely doesn't increase insulin. That's been shown. And it's definitely fine for weight loss. In fact, there have been some studies too that showed that people who consumed more, and again, this is all correlation, so it's not to be taken to the bank, but people who consumed more diet soda in this study saw better weight loss. But I think it probably had more to do with the fact that perhaps by having diet soda instead of just water, they were really able to maybe curb some cravings and stuff like that, and feel more satisfied and be able to stick to lower calories and therefore lose weight. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is why we got to be so careful with correlation. But to me, if you like it and it helps you stick to the diet and keep your calories down, there's no reason to avoid it, at least in moderation. I drink plenty of stuff with artificial sweeteners, and everyone's different too. Some people respond negatively to it and their body doesn't handle it well. I remember one person said, I know that artificial sweeteners are terrible for you because when I have artificial sweeteners, I get a headache. Well, hold on. Just because you see a negative side effect from it doesn't mean that it's terrible for the entire world. Everyone, people who are allergic to shellfish, that doesn't make seafood bad for you. You know what I mean? Like, we all respond differently to different things, and that's why we need to pay attention to what works well for us. So if you would have negative side effects from it, then yeah, probably avoid it. Just like if you have an intolerance to something or an allergy or whatever else. But man, I went on a long rant about that. But anyway, hopefully that helps. What visual signs to look out for to indicate that a female is putting on muscle? Well, it's difficult. I mean, obviously you're just going to see that your muscles look bigger. I mean, that's the obvious answer, but the hard part is you typically put on muscle better during a reverse or a building phase where you're also possibly putting on a little bit of body fat. You don't really see the progress in your muscle until you've cut down the road, and then you really see it happening. But if you notice that your weight's going up, but your weight's going up, or or staying the same, but you're visibly leaner, you're building muscle and losing fat, recomping and things like that. But it's not an easy thing to see. I mean, you'll notice over time if you see little changes, but it's kind of a difficult question to answer and not one I can really give a good answer to. Answered this question already about walking, which for the record, for teens or adults or elderly, or whatever, is irrelevant. It doesn't change anything. No worries on the next comment. Dairy, there are a lot of people saying dairy can hinder weight loss, but also lots of people say it's fine. Dairy does not does not hinder weight loss. There's no food that says that you eat that will just all of a sudden make you not lose fat. It doesn't work that way. Again, requires a context of an overall diet. There's plenty of examples of this. There was a channel I watched for a while where it was, I don't think he does any videos anymore, but it was called Abs and Ice Cream. And he went on I believe it was 90 days, and he ate 80% of his calories from ice cream. 80% of his calories came from ice cream. And he lost 30 pounds and looked significantly leaner, obviously. Saw all of his health markers improve, his blood glucose, his cholesterol levels, blood pressure, all that type of stuff, all improved. And he ate almost nothing but ice cream. Am I suggesting you go eat nothing but ice cream? No, but it obviously shows that you can lose weight just fine eating dairy or sugar or whatever else. It's just, we always tend to look at like, okay, what food should I eliminate? And we think that, that's always the answer. And it's just not the case. Like, no foods on their own are going to make you fat or thin. Things like ice cream and stuff are not very filling. They're easy to overeat on, but that doesn't mean you can't include some and be just fine. Unless somebody can start showing me some data to suggest that people who had the same amount of calories and protein, but had more dairy than the other, and they saw worse results, I'm not going to agree with that. I think that was it for those questions. Got a couple more here. One second. Can't answer this question, Lisa. There's too many variables, and you want to get away from worrying about like how long it's going to take to do anything or whatever else. It's like you just need to focus on the process and let the results come in the amount of time they're going to come. Creating expectations is literally the worst thing you can do. I just talked about this on my Instagram. Again, follow me on Instagram. I don't think you can see my pointer. Here, let's do this. Follow me on Instagram. And I believe it was this post right here. Yeah, so I'm just going to read it because I think it's helpful. So I said, hold on. Sorry, blanked out for a second. So it reminded what I was talking about with being this lean, and I'm not anywhere near this lean anymore. I was just kind of talking about how it was not a fast process, obviously, and everything else. And what I said was, it reminds me of how people get caught up in timelines. Let me make this bigger if I can. And the thing is, almost nothing in life happens as fast as you want. The more expectations you create about how long it should take, the more likely you are to be disappointed and feeling like something's wrong when there probably isn't. I don't know that low expectations is necessarily the greatest thing, but I think no expectations would be a great idea for most. The higher the expectation, the more likely for letdown, and oftentimes people's expectations are unrealistic to begin with. Just do the work and let the results be whatever they'll be. No emotional connection. And what I mean by that is, like, the higher your expectations, the more likely you are to feel like something's wrong and feel like you're like letting yourself down or like you're failing and things like that. And it's like, I truly believe that happiness is basically the difference between expectations and what you get. And if you go in with no expectations of how things should go and just do the work, then you can be happy with the results you get. If you go into something thinking you're going to get these amazing results and then it doesn't work out that way, like, people will lose 30 pounds but feel like they're failing because they thought they should have lost 50 pounds by now. It's like, no, you lost 30 pounds. That's fantastic. Like, it's just really dangerous. And the more expectations you create, the more dangerous that is to put yourself in a negative spot mentally. And yeah, I mean, I just think the more we can stop worrying about what we should be able to expect and what results we should get and things like that, the better off you're going to be. And no matter what, it doesn't matter how long stuff takes, because you have to do this stuff forever anyways. Like, there's literally no such thing as being done. If you're ever done, then you're just going to lose anything you ever did. So we got to make it a lifestyle. And that's not a slam on you. I'm just saying. Can you lose weight eating junk food and sweets? Well, I probably hadn't talked about the abs and ice cream guy at that point, but absolutely. And let me go back to my picture. Let me. All right. This guy right here. Let me even get rid of myself. That guy did not avoid sweets. I had ice cream. I had other things. I just fit it within my macros and didn't make it a huge part of my diet, but I still enjoyed it. I still went out to eat. I still had some alcohol. All right. Like, it can be done. And the problem with just trying to avoid certain foods and everything else is it just tends to create these really negative mental relationships with food and causes all or nothing mentality. And it's never going to be sustainable. And, we got to stop looking at foods as bad and just focus on, like I keep saying, the context of an overall diet. And not only is there the abs and ice cream guy, there's many examples of different people who have done this. There was a guy who did nothing but McDonald's. Like, we've heard about the let me bring this up. We've heard about the Supersize Me, right? And everyone points to, oh, look, McDonald's is the worst thing ever. But nobody ever talks about the McDonald's diet guy. Let's see if I can find here. Man loses 56 pounds after eating only McDonald's for 6 months. Look at that. Let me blow that up. Only McDonald's for 6 months. Lost 60 pounds. Not only that, but let me see if I can find it in here. Let me search for cholesterol. All right. His total cholesterol dropped from 249 to 190, including a 25% decrease in LDL, or bad cholesterol. So we gotta stop demonizing food. There's a guy that they called him the I think it was called the Twinkie diet guy or something like that. And he made most of his foods. It was a professor that wanted to prove to his kids that you could lose weight by eating junk food. And there's so many examples of this, not to mention the amount of research that shows as long as calories and protein are equated, it doesn't matter. There was a sugar study that was done where one group did, it was like 4% of their calories came from sugar. The other group did 44% of their calories from sugar. Equated macros. No difference in weight loss, and almost all health markers were the same, except for a small difference in cholesterol. And that was probably because the group that had much less sugar had much higher fiber. If you somehow could equate fiber, I bet you that would be different. So yeah, we just don't want to get caught up in demonizing foods. Yeah, it just is. There's nothing good that comes from it. Again, am I saying you should go out and eat mostly junk food, eat mostly sugar? No. But that doesn't mean you can't have some. Absolutely, I support. Make the majority of your diet nutrient dense, whole foods, minimally processed foods, but don't tell yourself you can't have some ice cream if you freaking like ice cream. And there's different effects. If I have a liquid stevia, I get spots, maybe because of insulin spikes, since it's stronger, whereas with I don't know. Maybe, Jake. Like, again, if you notice that you don't tolerate it well, then yeah, that makes sense for you. I think I might have missed. Did I miss a comment from you? Maybe not. Yeah, Twinkie diet. So I was right. I don't look anywhere near like that, but I was looking through my phone, and I was scrolling through, and I went back to when I was shredded back then, and I was close to doing a show, which I'm not a competitor. I just wanted to do it the one time and just see, and I got freaking shredded. But I had so many pictures that I took that I didn't even remember taking. So like, man, I got to start using some of these just for posts. That's why I took all those pictures. But it's also got me fired up. So I'm going to start a cut here in September, and that's kind of helped with the motivation levels too. Like I'm looking forward to cutting up again and just see what it looks like. It won't look that good, but that's okay. I just do it for the challenge and enjoyment, and I know I won't sustain it, and that's okay. Appreciate it though. Calories matter for weight loss. Hormones matter for hunger control and energy expenditure. I mean, it matters for both. And again, calories is both calories in and calories out. Like that's why when people say like all calories aren't created equal, it's true, but it's equal into your mouth. It's different on how the thermic effect of food handles that. So your body processes the food, and like protein has a super high thermic effect of food. Sugary foods that have nothing else have a very low thermic effect of food, and aren't filling. So and that's where hormones matter too, because the reason protein is so filling. Remember I was talking about the hormone ghrelin that is nicknamed the hunger hormone, and it makes you feel so if ghrelin elevates, you feel hungrier. Well, protein significantly reduces the hormone ghrelin after you consume them, and therefore you feel less full. So that food alters your hormones temporarily to help you feel less full. And again, they impact calories out, but it doesn't take away the calories in versus calories out equation. People think that calories in versus calories out is all about tracking, and that's not the case. Yes, agreed. I don't know enough about that. It could be true. I don't know. So why do people look up to ZYZZ saying that he's the king of aesthetics? I mean, the guy has a good looking physique, but he's not huge. Listen, like everyone has different goals, different things they aspire to be, and we all have people who have certain looks that we think look good, or like not everyone wants to be huge. Some people want a more balanced physique, some people want to be massive, some people don't want a whole lot of muscle, but they just want to be toned, which if you the reason I put quotes up is because tone is basically the reduction of body fat and an increase of muscle. It's just you can't tone a muscle. A muscle is a muscle. But everyone has different things they aspire to, and things that they like, and that's why I like. So if somebody likes how that dude looks, then more power to them. But you definitely don't want to like compare yourself to that person either and think you're less than that if you don't look like that. Plus, you never know what somebody else is on. All right, I think that's it. I'll give it a minute here and see if anybody else has any other questions. See if I had anything else I wanted to bring up. Nope, that was it. So I will hang out for another minute. If you have anything else, let me know. Otherwise, we will call it a day. And I appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in online coaching, head to my website, callinthewaytraining.com, and apply. And if you do that, I will shoot a video, much like right now where I'm talking to the camera, and I will go over your questionnaire with it on the screen, talk about things, give you my thoughts. I will email you back that video. If you don't see a video from me within 24 hours, check your junk mail because it will be there. I do not ignore any emails or any applications. All right. I will respond to you. If you don't see it, it went to junk mail, and that happens a lot. So that's why I like to say that. So we got another one here. What's your opinion on folks who talk about all-in diets and how it will naturally help you stop eating and suddenly lose weight? Well, first of all, that's not what the all-in diet's about all suddenly lose weight. People who say that don't get it. Now, I don't have all the knowledge in the world on the all-in diet, but the point of the all-in is to not worry about weight. The point is, in Stephanie Buttermore is the one who popularized this, and she was in a spot and again, you have to be careful because the spot that Stephanie Buttermore was in is much different than the spot that most people just living everyday lives are in. She was extremely lean for an extremely long amount of time, and her hormones were just completely jacked up because of it, and she felt miserable. She was starving all the time, and she was miserable, and she said, I don't want to live this way. I would rather just get myself back into a better place. So she just said, screw it. I'm just going to eat whatever I want, however much I want. And if I gain weight, or as I gain weight, then so be it. My health is more important to me. So that's not just like all of a sudden you'll start losing weight. And then I've also had people say, well, see, she did this and now she's losing weight like crazy when she went onto a diet again. Well, it's like, yeah, because she spent all that time gaining a bunch of weight in a huge calorie surplus and corrected her hormones and metabolism. So of course, when you go back to diet again after doing that for a long period of time, you're going to be in a great place to lose. So again, like I talked about earlier in this video, it depends on what balance is most important to you, and I can't answer that for anybody else. So yeah. Yeah, don't, in my opinion, you don't want to aspire to look like anybody else because you're not going to. Like, you can't change your own personal genetics. And let's be honest, like Frank Zane was obviously on steroids. I don't know if you are or not. And I'm not judging if you are, but to try to reach somebody's goal is somebody's physique who was on steroids and you're natural, good luck with that. You know what I mean? And we all just have different muscle structure and things like that. The people who are like the best of the best of the best, they're genetically gifted people. Now they have insane work ethics, of course, and they're very diligent and all that type of stuff. But you can do everything perfectly, do everything spot on, and do everything you should do, and maybe never even look anywhere close to what you think you want to look like because you can't change your genetics. So you just have to be okay with looking your personal best, and not judging compared to anybody else. In my personal opinion, it's great if that person inspires you to work hard. It's a completely different story if you feel disappointed by not looking like that when you put in the work. And a lot of people use genetics as a crutch too. They'll say like, well, if I work really hard, will my genetics allow me to do this or that? And it's like, I don't know, like just do the work and find out. Like, don't use, well, it's almost like looking for a reason to not do the work because you think, well, if I don't have the genetics, then what's the point? Why put in the work? And it's like, well, no matter what, you can do better. No matter what, you can improve. Is that not worth it? Like, just because it's not going to necessarily work out to be exactly what you want doesn't mean that you aren't going to make significant changes and improve. So you don't want to get too caught up in that type of stuff. Do you believe you can change your set point with weight training, etc.? Yes. If you build muscle, the more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. So you will improve your metabolism by weight training. Yeah, Kim. I got nothing to add. I agree, and you're proof, and there's plenty of other people that are proof. Hey, Marianne. Hey, we got somebody from Facebook. So with the upgrade in my subscription, I can now do a live simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube. Most people are obviously going to come from YouTube, but it's kind of cool that I can do it both ways. If you are not following me on Facebook, it's called The Weight Training, as you can see, and you can follow me there. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right, I think I'm going to call it. So thank you so much for joining. This was fun. It looks like the 2-week schedule is probably going to work out okay for now, so plan on it. Hopefully the next time, I've got some equipment being delivered next week, so next time the quality will be even better, I hope. And I'll continue to try to improve. And if you have any suggestions on how I can do things better, I am all ears. And let's hope that the audio syncs up when I hit publish here. So thank you, and have a fantastic weekend.